Okay, wait, what's going on, everybody? It is Intelligent Cycle back here with another stream. So this time, I'm gonna do three topics today. I'm gonna talk about the live-action Superman rankings that you see on screen here. I'm gonna be talking about the recapping the WNBA All-Star Game, and kind of thoughts of like a lot of people been complaining about the game being boring, the game not being as exciting, the All-Star festivities not being as exciting. I'll talk about the festivities a little bit, and then after that, I'm gonna talk about I made my list and going off of Bleacher Report's dumb list of the top 100 greatest NBA players of all time. Haven't come up with 100 yet, but I've come up with my top 50. So I'll reveal my 50 greatest NBA players of all time, and then another video in the upcoming like weeks or months from now. I probably will do all the way up to 100. So anyhow, let's get to the first discussion. We're going to talk about the Superman rankings. Now, this is inspired because of the latest James Gunn Superman film and the installment in his new chapter with him and Peter Safran, the DCU and the DC universe. So in spite of this all, we're gonna do my Superman rankings. And no, we're not going to count anything that's not involved of a Superman solo film. So you're not gonna see Black Adam. You're not going to see Zack Snyder's Justice League, nor Joss Whedon's version of Justice League, because those are not live solo iterations of Superman. They involve Superman in it, but they're not live solo iterations of Superman. So we only just gonna talk about the live action rankings of Superman from least favorite to favorite. We're gonna start from number 8, and we're gonna go with Superman Quest for Peace. This film was absolutely atrocious when I seen it the first time, man. The one reason of what I didn't like about it, one, it didn't have the feel and the style and the essence of the first two installments. The direction, Richard Donner going away, not directing this film, really kind of lost the touch, lost the magic from it. And again, I wasn't really the hugest fan of the villain. I think the villain played as Laura Lang, from what she did in the third installment as well. I didn't really like that part about the film. The comedy to me was bland, and also not only the comedy was bland to me, but I feel like just Superman's interactions, Clark Kent's interactions with Lois, just something about that touch just did not have the feeling to me like it was like in the feeling of what the first two did. And again, losing the director, losing Richard Donner, losing that touch for me just really, really kind of gave me off. Now, back then when I saw this film for the first time, I kind of gave it a little bit of a pass, because of when it came out, and plus due to the campy, and subtext style of the early to probably mid 80s style of films, because that was very more comedic route, and plus because of Saturday Night Live and that era when that came out, it had a lot of just of a feeling, so I gave it more of a pass. But now, as I got older, the film to me just did not have its lasting power at all whatsoever. Just did not have a lot of lasting power. Plus, the film was a little bit too long to me. It felt long, it felt grating, it didn't feel like there was a lot going on with it. Now, let's go to number 7 on the list, and we're gonna go with Superman 3. Now, this is the film I was in the middle of watching, finishing up, so this is what also inspired me to do this list as well. The reason why I had this film next to last, number one, why is Richard Pryor in this film as Gus Gorman? He does not add any substance, any flavor, even a comedy that he does in here. Some jokes did land, some jokes were funny, but most of the time it was pretty bland. It was pretty uncommon valor. It was pretty just lackluster. And Superman, Christopher Reeve's performance just kind of dipped in quality. Everything dipped in quality. The characters dipped in quality. The performances was dipped in quality. Just overall, everything just felt dipped in quality and everything, especially the look of Metropolis. It didn't feel like, it just felt, the first two films didn't feel as retro and didn't feel as futuristic. Now it makes it feel like in the latter half, it feels very too futuristic, and it feels very just offbeat and off-putting. And Richard Pryor did not do anything to me as Gus Gorman to really stand out in front of the pack. And him being in here just really didn't add no purpose, didn't add no stakes, didn't add nothing. It just really, pretty much, he was just there just as a cosplay. And this movie just really felt like a cosplay to me. And the reason why I say that is because everything about it just felt too out of place. And to me, from what the balance was in the first two films, of the comedic tones and a bit of the serious tones, it to me it was just so plain and basic and generic and uneven as far as the tone setting goes and the dramatic shift in direction. It didn't really have that style and flavor, and plus the music I really didn't like in here either. It didn't have that Superman-esque kind of music that the earlier films did have. So that's another reason why I had this a lot lower than what most people thought and believed. So yeah, I just didn't really feel like anything really came together to me. So that's why I have it at 7. Let's go to number 6 in these iterations, and we're gonna go with Superman Returns. And this is directed by Bryan Singer. We had Brandon Routh, Superman Clark Kent, Kay Bosworth, Lois Lane, Kevin Spacey as Doomsday, and Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. Sorry about that. And then you have Doomsday in the film. I forget who plays that actor, who plays that character. But again, this film had a lot going for it, in my opinion. The problem with this movie is Superman had a family, and towards that latter half, where he finds out about his family, finds out about his past, finds out about his parents lying to him, finds out a lot about his checkered and colored past, about why he was sent, and find out why he was sent to Earth and everything. He finds out more about his past, where he didn't really have as much background and backstory. You know, he was more of like an alien from another planet, and Kryptonian planet. He was sent there to try to protect the people in Metropolis. You know, he knew all of these things, but when he finds out that in the film later on down the road, and then also his interactions and confrontation with Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor, you know, it kind of gets to the root of what was going on and a little bit of the problems and issues. The main thing that I really didn't feel like worked in this film, number one, was the dialogue. I felt the dialogue to me was a bit all over the place, a bit too cheesy. Then I didn't feel as if they went anywhere with the story. Didn't went anywhere in the second half into the third act of the film with the family angles. I didn't really feel like they went anywhere as far as the overall soundtrack. And I felt like as Bryan Singer was trying to make a love letter to this film and an ode to Richard Pryor, I feel as if he just, to me, got lost in his own translation as far as really putting together a story. You know, Superman is more or less healing. That light is his natural healing power. He's a beacon of light like he is in the comics. And of course, the Doomsday issue number 75, you know, Doomsday beats Superman. He triumphs and he has him over, which that does happen. But Lex doesn't really take him down until like a few issues later. And the way they did him in this film, the way they beat up Superman in this film was way worse in here than what they did in the James Gunn-led Superman, which a lot of people was kind of pissed off about. And I'll get to that my rankings later about that, why people had issues with that and why they called that film woke. They need to call this film out of his right name, because Bryan Singer, to me, just did not have a clear vision of where he wanted to go with Clark Kent and Superman character. It's not a bad film by any means, but I just didn't feel as if it had a lot of lust and the magic and the power of where it could have been and what could possibly been tantamount and tenfold towards a juice of a successor. And it just feels as if it feels like Bryan Singer, to me, just as a director, just didn't feel like he had anywhere to go with the storyline, and it felt bland, it felt too out of place. The characters, to me, besides Kevin Spacey, Lex Luthor, I didn't think and that was the only thing, really much the only thing, and Kay Bosworth was okay. I didn't like Brandon Routh as Superman. He didn't really have the mannerisms and the characteristics like the Superman character, and like Clark Kent. I didn't like his Clark Kent at all. He didn't have the mannerisms like it whatsoever, and he just felt just way too bland and way too condescending and way too just paint by the numbers. And as an actor and felt way too paint by the numbers. It's one reason why he's not returned as the cape suited hero. He hadn't returned because he just did not have the kind of staying power to really have that character going forward. Crosby 11, hey, how's it going? What's going on? Anybody want to comment and tell me your guys' rankings? You're free to do so. But yeah, that's my thoughts about Brandon Routh's performance. I just didn't think he pulled it off as Superman. I felt like he was just a bit too all over the place. Now, let's get to number 6 of the films. And we have BVS, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Or, in this case, Dawn of Justice, the director's cut. The reason why I had this at number 5. The reason why I had this at 5 and not anywhere else. Number 5, mainly 4 through 1 is the films I really, really enjoy. This film, going back in 2016 when this came out and it was battling between the box office sales between this projected and then Captain America Civil War. So this film had supposed to have a lot going for it. This is people's most anticipated film of the year. And no, it did not live up to any expectations of that whatsoever. When I first seen this, I absolutely hated this movie. Number one, I hated the direction, the way it was going. I hated that from Zack Snyder, and then plus it was in the way him and Christopher Nolan did this film and was responsible for why it failed and why it wasn't a box office treasury, a box office success. Because him and Christopher Nolan, a part of it, didn't really push the movie to new levels of heights. That's number one. Number two, I didn't like Amy Adams as Lois Lane. I thought her Lois Lane was complete junk. Overall. And then also, didn't like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. He wasn't not Lex Luthor to me. Didn't have the mannerisms, didn't have the characteristics like Lex Luthor. That's two. And then number three, I did not like the way they killed off Superman in here. It made no dang sense. It made absolutely no sense whatsoever the way they killed him off. It just was stupid. It was just arrogance. It was idiocy, and it just added no kind of stakes, no kind of tension. It just made the film look even more boneheaded. The only thing I liked about the movie is even though there was a casting decision at the last minute, they added Ben Affleck in there to really try to add some flair and add some dramaticness and some attention to it. But if you see the director's cut, he's actually building himself up in the weight room, lifting weights. Yeah, he was looking chiseled up. He was looking prepared. As Batman. So that'd be the main thing, and also Wonder Woman appearance in here made it worth of a difference. And I still stand by those points back then of this film kind of being super generic and mediocre and not having a lot to say. But as far as I'm concerned, this film to me just did not live up to the standard of what I wanted and what I was supposed to set. Number 4, we have Man of Steel. Man of Steel is Zack Snyder's iteration into the DCU. As for Man of Steel, and Christopher Nolan also wrote and co-produced this film. So it was a lot of visions and a lot of parts. Now, heading into this movie, I actually liked this movie when I first saw it in 2013. The reason why is because I really like Henry Cavill Superman. I thought he, to me, was given the best performance. He had the characteristics, the mannerisms. The suit looked dark and really good and really gritty and really grimy, like the actual Superman and Lois show. I thought that suit looked phenomenal. I thought it looked really, really cool, really, really good. I thought it gave a little bit of a dark, mysterious, and just an overall aesthetic and appearance that he was really just not to be messed with. A lot of terrible times, a lot of his dark past, and you saw that here in this film. And Man of Steel, where his past was pretty much coming back on him and really coming back to haunt him at one point. And you saw that he wanted to save all of humanity. He wanted to save every life, including his father's life. But then once we get into that part of the film, he ends up, and his father, Jonathan Kidd, played by Kevin Costner, who gets a great performance, by the way. Excuse me. Kevin Costner does a great performance as Jonathan Kent, his father. The way they did him in this movie and how he dies and how he dies in a way that he does and how he gets killed is just so just lackluster and condescending and very this disturbing and disparaging. And it was just to the point where it just completely just turned me off as far as the Superman-esque film. And then him telling Lois and him letting them know about why he does the things that he does. I'm sorry, and especially in that pile of rubble, you know, it just that scene to me was so bad. It was so badly written. It was so badly executed. It just did not make sense to me. I thought Michael Shannon killed it as General Zod. I thought that was the best Zod I've seen probably since Terrence Stamp's Zod. I thought that was great. A great moment to see him in there. It's a great moment to see Michael Shannon as General Zod. It was a great thing to see Henry Cavill, Superman, going back and forth with Zod. I like the dark aesthetic feel in Metropolis because it made sense, especially it was an oblique dystopian future, and a bleak dystopian city, and knowing that Metropolis has gone through so much with the devastation and destruction of Zod, Jor-El, and Lex Luthor. They needed to show the obliqueness and the effect of what's going on down in Metropolis and what Superman was trying to do to come and help and save humanity, save the world, and save innocent lives. And they showed that a lot, and it showed a lot better in what was going on. So I really enjoyed that aspect of Man of Steel, and it really made it there. The comic book aspects of it, wasn't always there, and it didn't really give as much really hold and latch on to. Now, number 3 on the list is James Gunn's Superman 2025. Why this is at number 3 and not in the top 2? I feel like this is one of the best iterations of Superman. This is very much of a comic book-esque film. I've already done a review for it. This film is incredible. Absolutely incredible. David Cornsweet kills it as Clark Kent Superman. Rachel Brosnahan kills it as Lois Lane. Nicholas Hoult kills it as Lex Luthor. Ejdi Afediji, who plays Mr. Terrific. The Justice Gang, Guy Gardner. He was nice. Hawk Girl, she was cool. I really enjoyed the storyline. And even Crypto, the super dog. I mean, Crypto and Superman and Lois, and of course Lois and Clark show, like, he was alright, but here he was fantastic. He was vicious, venomous when he needed to be, and when he had to be, he was vicious and venomous where it all was standing for it, where it was grandstanding and grand scaling. He was vicious as hell, and where it needed to be and where it possibly can be. He absolutely was just absolutely on point, and he bring a lot of heart, bring a lot of flair, bring a lot of demeanor into it, and really gave us something to latch on, and really gave us something to really sink our teeth in, to really bring us together, man. So shout out to that Crypto dog, man. He killed it. He did his thing. I cannot wait to see what James Gunn does with the iteration of DCU. I don't want to go into much of this film, but because I already did a review. But yeah, I hope James Gunn continues to direct more DC movies in the future. With Peter, and then also Peter Safran can be a part of it. So yeah, great film all around. Superman 2 is the second film that's at that spot as the number 2 spot. It's part 2. That is great. That is a phenomenal sequel and a phenomenal iteration, whether it be the Donner cut or the Lester cut, that really adds to it. With Jor-El and Terrence Stamp as Zod, Lex Luthor, Gene Hackman was okay. Wasn't really the hugest fan of Lex Luthor. I prefer none of them was like Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor. I think that was the best one to me. But I feel as if Gene Hackman added something. I feel like Terrence Stamp as Zod added something with the X-ray vision. Superman with the laser vision and laser beams. He has super strength and everything. He does his thing, and even especially in the iteration of the comics, They add more of the authority. I hope they add some more to Court of Owls, and I hope they more so add a lot of flavor to um, more to what the Justice Gang was doing in this latest installment. But here they added so much more to it, you know. And Superman cares about Lois. Clark Kent cares about Lois, and she knows that. And Margaret Kidder does his thing. Does her thing. Glenn Ford, like he did in the first film, does his thing. Everybody plays their part and plays their role well. I don't feel like anybody was overstepping boundaries, overstepping toes. And getting to the last film is none other than Richard Donner's the original Superman the movie. That is the number one best Superman movie, and there's not a single film as far as in this iteration that's gonna even come close to that levels of greatness that the original installment did. So yeah, that is my rankings of the Superman films. Now let's get to what you guys think down in the comment section, and also in the live chat. Now let's recap the WNBA All-Star Game. So Team Collier absolutely dominated Team Clark last night by the score of 151 to 131. Of course, no defense was played. Like any All-Star game, no defense was played. The story of the game is, of course, we already know about Kayla and Courtney and Kelsey Plum. But the story and Alicia Gray having a really good night. The story of the game was none other than Skylar Diggins setting the career record mark for a triple double in a single All-Star game. She's been with the Seattle Storm, new environment team system for about a couple years. She was relatively with the Phoenix Mercury, and I believe I forget the other team that she was with, but anyhow, she set the career mark triple double in the All-Star game, and Nafisa Collier was the MVP last night. She had 36 points and 9 rebounds. Neka Ugumike, she played a really good game. For the Fever, for the Team Clark's team, Fever native Kelsey Mitchell had 20 points. Leah Boston struggled. Sabrina Ironshoe, who won the 3-point contest Saturday night, she had 12 points. Gabby Williams, Kiki, and Kayla Thornton were all in double figures. Everybody was in double figures. Sonia Citron, Brittany Sykes, everybody was in double figures. It was a good All-Star festivities last night. You saw Glorilla came and did their thing and performed to the fullest. You saw Angel Reese doing her thing, and she really had the gang going. Really had a little bit of an impact there. But as far as I knew, Team Collier was probably gonna win last night because they had just had a lot more size. They had way too much size. With Collier and Angel Reese, Neka Ugumike, and of course Brianna Stewart. They just had a lot of size, and I knew the Team Clark was gonna struggle because they shot so many threes, and with the increase in the game with the 4-point line, they really kind of just made it more of an impact and an imprint. So definitely a really solid win for Team Collier. The standings as we see it right now, as we're heading into towards the latter half of the season, you'll see teams start making runs. Yeah, you see teams start making runs. And Kayla Clark is supposed to return Tuesday night. I believe she's going to come back and return. Hopefully she returns to either play the Liberty or play the next night against the Chicago Sky. That's what they were saying. So she didn't play. She missed the All-Star game with another injury. A lot of fans were complaining about, and as you saw last night when Collier was getting her MVP, they were complaining about paying us what you owe us. Pretty much was that's what you seen. Now a lot of people people gonna get asked my thoughts about this because I saw what they were saying last night. All the women was wearing the warm-up shirts. You pay us what you owe us. So the if you go in and you invest in buying a stock of the team, because over the last 2.5, 3 years, the Las Vegas Aces have been making over $250+ million. And the same thing could be said if you was buying the Washington Mystics. If you set up a 20 million, like, endorsement deal mark, you had to wait and expect and have expectations over the course of some time for it to really be setting in order for you to expect your pay and your work. The thing is, the women have really, the marketing for the WNBA is really kind of set forth, because it's not an old system. It's not an old, like, structure. They only been around for like maybe a little bit close to 20 years, but they haven't really been around for that long. And so, just as a whole, you can't ask what has already been expected from you, and you guys are not living to those kind of standards. But at the same time, for the younger women who, are just kind of like now getting started into this fold of, like, really becoming popular, becoming the face, like Reese and Clark, and of course Nafisa and Breonna Stewart, and and then also with these women traveling like 2, 3 days out of the country and on the road, and out of the city on the road. Yeah, they are gonna ask for what they're worth, because they're not getting the kind of level of attention. They're getting the coverage, but the level of attention and the level of talked about, unless if you're watching ESPN, unless if you're watching a lot of these platforms, you're not seeing them on YouTube getting the clear cut and the clear credit. And then especially when you got guys hating on the internet, you know, on these women, like what you saw with RG3 hating on Angel Reese for some unknown reason, and complaining about her lack of play, even though Angel Reese is 8 games in and she's already averaging a double double. But again, that doesn't get talked about enough at all. That don't make, and she's been averaging games in 2020 since high school, even into college. And a similar thing with people that was playing alongside Caitlin Clark. But the thing is, you just, for the women that's really wanting to more money, more pay, and more coverage and more leverage, it's just about playing to the standard and playing up to the standard that's been expectations that's being set for you, more or less, than getting what you know and believe that you're supposed to be owed. So I understand where the women are coming from. I get it, but in the same breath, it's also a business. It's also, you got to find ways to, like, you know navigate through the ostracization of what the league and what the sports media realm and what the league is trying to not set forth for you guys to set an example. So that's just my thoughts about the All-Star game, and of course the whole news about the women, the girls wearing the pants what you always shirts. It's more or less a thing of just showing accountability and knowing exactly how valuable and how and what worth you are and what you are worth of having. All right, so now the last thing I want to talk about is hold on. I want to talk about the NBA. All right, I'll be right back, you guys. I'll talk about the NBA's top 50 greatest players of all time. I got my list ready to go, and this is gonna be way better than Billboard's 50 list, and way better than their 100-player list. Like I said, I'll get that. I'll get more into that in the near future. So, but I'll be right back. I gotta go. Be right back. Just take a little break. All right, so what's going on, everybody? So now back once again. So here we go with the list. Now, in this ranking, I'm gonna just go by just the basketball analysis of what I think is the 50 greatest players of all time. I'm going off of the career accolades, accomplishments, two-way player, just overall, like the eye test of what I've seen is the best. So we're gonna start off at number 50. We have is George Mikan. 49 is Russell Westbrook. 48 is Elvin Hayes. 47 is David Robinson. 46 is Walt Clyde Frazier. 45 is Dwayne Wade. 44 is Dominique Wilkins. 43 is Bob Cousy. 42 is Scottie Pippen. 41 is Dirk Nowitzki. 40 is Clyde Drexler. 39 is Steph Curry. 38 is John Havlicek. 37 is Rick Barry. 36 is Dennis Rodman. 35 is Kevin Garnett. 34 is Tracy McGrady. 33 is Paul Pierce. 32 is Penny Hardaway. 31 is Chris Webber. 30 is Kawhi Leonard. 29 is Kevin McHale. 28 is Earl Monroe. 27 is John Stockton. 26 is Jason Kidd. 25 is Bob Pettit. 24 is Kevin Durant. 23 is Patrick Ewing. 22 is Allen Iverson. 21 is Giannis Antetokounmpo. 20 is Willis Reed. 19 is Isaiah Thomas. 18 is George Gervin. 17 is Charles Barkley. 16 is Karl Malone. 15 is Oscar Robertson. 14 is Julius Erving. 13 is Jerry West. 12 is Elgin Baylor. And 11 is Bill Russell. Now let's get to the top 10. 10 is Moses Malone. 9 is Hakeem Olajuwon. 8 is Tim Duncan. 7 is Larry Bird. 6 is Kobe Bean Bryant. 5 is LeBron. 4 is Magic. 3 is Wilt Chamberlain. 2 is Michael Jordan. And number 1, the greatest, in my opinion, one of the top 50 greatest NBA players of all time. Number 1 is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That is my top 50 greatest NBA players of all time. And tell me what you guys think. Did you like? Did you dislike it? Yes, there are some glaring omissions. Of course, people are gonna ask about Shaq. I think his career, to me, with the Lakers at all time was his best. years with Kobe, but he didn't win with he didn't get over the hump without a top five or even close to a top five or a top 10 a Hall of Fame two guard, and that's why I didn't have him as high. He didn't dominate like a lot of people say, and by the time he was dominating from '99 all the way up to 2003, a lot of the centers were pretty much on their way out of the league or pretty much on their way in retirement, or there wasn't the same. And if you look at his playoff record before he joined the Lakers, he was 32 and 34. Was not winning a lot. And not only that, he was known in the 90s and known for being a kind of like more of a perennial loser in some instances, according to some fans. I didn't think he was, but I just didn't think enough for him to be warranted on a list as far as in the top 10 or even lower than that. So that's why you didn't see him on there. And I know that's a glaring omission for a lot of people, but again, I don't think that Shaq was as dominant as a lot of people like to make him out to be. He was grossly rated. And of course, a lot of people are gonna look at I didn't have no James Harden, no Steve Nash, none of those guys in there. No Nikola Jokic. I'm sorry, I don't value league MVPs like a lot of people do. A lot of people don't understand that league MVPs are media driven, said by people that used to work for ESPN, including me. And there was a lot of folks that said before in the past that a lot of the media driven, you know, all NBA team selections and all star selections are all media driven. They're not driven by the coaches, the fans, or the players. They're all driven by media, and they have their own biases and favoritism. So that's why I don't have a lot of the guys that you expect to be on there in there. And to me, I value defense a lot. A lot of times, people don't value defense, don't value defensive selections. That's why I have players ranked certain as high as they are. I didn't have Joe Dumars in here, Tony Parker, no Manu Ginobili. I didn't have Bernard King, Dave Bing, Wes Unseld, and Artis Gilmore. Those guys you'll see probably later down on the list. It's just I didn't have them in this one. But again, that's all I got to say in this latest one, guys. And thank you guys for watching. The next video I'm probably going to talk about is the Shannon Sharpe settlement that just took place and transpired. And then my next probably movie review or so that I'm going to come out with. Definitely not Fantastic Four. I'm not going to see that. Probably wait until streaming until that hits. Because I'm not going to see that in the theaters. And then the next thing I'm going to probably talk about movie-wise, probably Eddington. But I'm going to be on a little bit of a hiatus as far as doing the streams for a minute. So, but the next, after July the 25th, I probably may go on a little bit of a break, a little bit of a hiatus. But I will come back with some stuff as far as streams goes. So be on the lookout for that. But again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening and tuning in. And I will talk to y'all in the next one. Peace.